Welcome to this Production Now kind of like quick lecture thing. I don't even know what this is. This is like a Kat, my friend Kat was like, hey, can you teach me how to make videos because work wants her to make videos? And I was like, sure. And since I'm going to be teaching her, I'll bring you guys along too. So that's what we're going to do. First things first is we set up. And unfortunately, I'm sorry that you guys are on this ugly webcam. That's kind of what we got here because it's me and Kat today. So the first thing was, I was like, okay, let's figure out a good location. And this location isn't the best. It's very echoey. I haven't done any audio tuning in this room yet, setting up things in the corners or whatever to dim that down. So if you have a quieter room that doesn't have as much echo, that's probably going to be better. That's good. Also, just make certain that you're away from all of the noise. So if you've got your washing machine running, you know, like move to a different room or whatever. So that's the first thing. The next thing we need to do is work on light. So right now, you know, we're kind of we've cleared out the background, so it's not distracting except for my cable, which I'm not going to get rid of. Sorry, guys. So that's like, okay, well, how do we clean up the light here? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just turn on a light in the background here, just to give a little bit of interest to the wall, so it's not, you know, not like totally weird. Okay, and then I'm going to open up my curtain here just to give us a little more natural light. It's gonna brighten things up a little bit more for us. And then also in this corner, as you can see, which won't be in the final shot, I've just used a really awesome mic stand, which I got for like 20 bucks, and I asked for one for Christmas years and years ago, so I've had it forever. Got a little sandbag, which I bought off the internet, and then filled it with dirt, which is cool. And then just a standard normal light, just with a clamp, and then you turn it on, and that's going to give us more light on Kat. So we got off, we got on. It's just going to brighten up that side of the world. So that's going to be great. And then for our production, we're going to be shooting on my cell phone because not everybody's got really awesome cameras. And that's fine. You've got a cell phone, life's going to work great. So we're going to shoot on a cell phone. And Kat's going to, what are you going to be demonstrating, Kat?
I'm just going to be demonstrating different kinds of cutting tools that you use for sewing.
Okay, so what we do when we do a quick little video like this is we're going to go through the process a few times. And so the first time we're going to go through it, I'm going to shoot it wide. So I'm going to be way back there, shooting it as she talks through each of the tools. And then depending on what she says and how she says it, if I think we can make it tighter, we'll talk about that. And then we're going to go through it again, a little bit closer, and then we're going to do it one more time with the close-ups of all the little shots. And then that's going to be production. So let's see how fast we're able to do this. So I'm going to try and set up here with a nice little wide shot.
So today what we're going to be talking about is different types of cutting tools that you'll typically want to have in your arsenal of notions for sewing. So the first one that we have today is these are fabric shears. These are high quality scissors. You don't want to use just your regular everyday scissors. These are cut very, very nicely. These are particularly brand is Ginger. These you want to just use to cut fabric. You don't want to cut any paper or plastics or anything like that. You just want to use these for your fabrics.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys could tell while I was filming here, but I didn't lock my focus on my camera. I didn't lock my color. I really should have. I haven't done enough video shooting with this new phone, so I don't really know what's going on with that yet. So there's stuff to do there, but that's all stuff to look at when you're doing this. Also, I do not have a Bluetooth earpiece, but if you have one paired with your phone, I think you're going to get a much better audio quality off of Kat because I'm standing so far back and I'm next to my noisy computer. And I think we'll hear that in the edit, but we'll see what we can do with that. So now that we've shot the wide, and really that was solid. Like Kat's amazing at this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a closer up of just her, kind of her head talking, and then what we're going to do after that is we're going to do it one more time, just looking at each of the little pieces. And the thing is, if you do not have an actor who's as good as Kat at knowing what they're talking about or whatever, you'll often have to go through this multiple times. And that's okay. It can often take at least an hour to do a shoot or an interview. If you're going to do a quick little, like, 3-minute video, it'll take at least an hour of recording to get that done. But hopefully we're going to be able to do this faster because we're doing a quick little video just to show you how to do this. So we're going to switch over. Yeah, or have a script. That's also really good. Yes. Okay, we're going to shoot this again. Now from a little bit closer here. Let's see if we can turn off my auto stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to...
All up in the face.
All up in the face. All right. And
so don't worry so much about hands.
I would definitely still pick up everything because if you don't, you're going to change it how you talk and what you talk about.
Got it. Okay.
So, and like just do everything exactly like you did it.
Perfect.
All right, here we go, and go for it.
The next ones that we have are different kinds of rotary cutters. So rotary cutters are fantastic for doing cutting with quilting. They're wonderful because you can layer your quilting fabrics on top of each other, use your acrylic ruler, and just slice through it. They have a really, really sharp blade here, and then they have a really nice locking mechanism that keeps that out for you. You just want to make sure when you're done, always push that safety button in to keep that blade in. They're extremely sharp, so you want to make sure that that is always in, especially if you have little ones. So these are the tools that I have, and hope you enjoyed, and these are my wonderful selections. Okay, done.
Okay, that was fantastic. Let's work on like some kind of closeout, like yeah. So these are the cutting tools you're typically going to need during during any kind of project that you're going to be doing, and leave me comments or whatever you're going to be doing, because this is mostly for social, right? So yeah. So something about leave comments and we're happy to help out or whatever. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. And let's just go from that kind of closing part.
Okay, so these are all the basic tools. If you have any questions or comments, please do leave those in the comment section, and we will be happy to help you. Thanks for sticking around.
Fantastic. And now I'm going to do that once more from the Y, just so that I have some options with this. Okay. And go for it.
All right, so these are all the basic cutting tools that I would highly recommend to have on hand. You can leave comments or questions in the comment box, and we will be happy to get back to you.
Fantastic. Okay, so again, we've done a really good job with this so far. I don't feel a need. Notice though that I went in and I grabbed a quick, kind of the last shot here. So if there's something where you're like, okay, that was really good except for this one section where things got really weird, let's just reshoot that again. That's a fine way to do it, because then you have the shots, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna shoot the close-ups. So we're gonna run through this again, and I'm just gonna kind of follow you around and see what I can do as far as the tools. Cool. And go whenever.
And then these, I love to use these as they're just spring-loaded snips. These you want to use for all of your fur projects. They have like a locking mechanism so you can keep this cut. Because they're spring-loaded, they're easily, let me do that again.
Okay, so at this point in time, and this will happen with your actors, and that is fine, but they're going to get lost. The cool part is, especially here, because we're doing the close-ups, we can just start from where we left off, no big deal. And if you're doing the wide and the medium, whatever, just back up a little bit and go forward. If you start right on the line or the thing that you were working on, your voice changes when you're going through that. And so you want to give them a little bit of build-up, kind of get started, like you've stopped at a light. You're not driving at exactly the same speed when you start going again. So it's better to back up a little bit and kind of get going that momentum. But there's no problem here because we're going to be editing in just a minute. So here we go. Back to the snips. Just start at the beginning of those snips and we're going to be good.
Okay. The next pair we have here is spring-loaded snips. These are wonderful for all your fur projects. Because they're spring-loaded, there's less fatigue that's made on your hands as you're cutting rather than using traditional scissors. So these are wonderful for that. I like to particularly use them to get close to the nap of the fur. And so you can just snip along there and get that nice 1/4 inch seam. So those are a wonderful accessory to have for all of your fur work. If you have any comments or questions, please do fill those out, and we would love to hear from you.
Fantastic. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get one last little shot of just the snips, kind of just random stuff. I don't know if it's going to be useful, but we'll shoot it anyway. So we're just going to go along here. Just grab a little artistic. Okay, so we've just finished filming really quickly, which is awesome. And we're going to move over to editing now, and we'll see what see on that side. Okay, so yesterday when I started cutting with Kat, I didn't realize that I totally covered up the timeline with the video. So here I placed it in a much better spot in the editing system so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I am going to cut to the stuff that I was doing with Kat, but I just kind of wanted to give an introduction a little bit more about how to do this editing stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull in all the media that I shot with Kat real quick. And it starts out, I guess I took a photo with that, so that's something. So we'll just get rid of that. real fast, we'll delete that. I also have all my hotkeys set up really well, so it's exactly what I want and how I do it. If you're just getting started with editing, don't worry about hotkeys. Just figure out how to do the basics of what we're going to do. So basically what I like to do is I like to give myself lots of space to work with, so I just kind of scooch everything over, and then I choose the clip that I'm going to start with in this. So we're going to start, let's say, with this wide angle shot. And we need to turn up the volume because it's not very loud yet. And here we go.
Ready, go for it.
Okay, yes.
Right, welcome. So today what we're doing is all right.
So basically what we're doing is we're going to start with just choosing the stuff that we want to, we just want to get rid of. So, so we start with, I want to start from me talking, don't need that.
All right, welcome.
So we don't need the all right? So what we do is we go right after that, we set our thing, we either slice and delete, or I've got my hotkey set up so I can just set it up. It's really awesome when you set your in, you set your out, and then you delete from in to out, but that's really, that's advanced. You don't need to do that. You can use just your selection tool, get your blade tool, choose where you're going to stop, cut, delete, all that stuff. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to just start out with a very basic idea of editing, and then I want to get into a little bit more of the advanced stuff. So we're going to start with just this basic welcome stuff.
Welcome. So today what we're going to be talking about is different types of cutting tools that you'll typically want to have in your arsenal of notions for sewing.
Okay, so I don't know what a notion is, so I'm like, And then also, Kat's banging on the table.
Welcome. So today,
and because I'm so far back in the room getting the audio, the banging on the desk is actually more loud than her voice, so that's actually not optimal. So maybe instead of using that clip as the start, maybe we start with Kat's close-up. Let's see if that's any better. Okay, so we gotta go to the home, and we're gonna turn up the volume on this too. Ooh, that's too much. Yeah. Okay. And here we go.
Go for it.
welcome. Today we're going to be.
Oh, that welcome's very nice. Okay, and she doesn't bang on the table. So what we're going to do is we're going to start right at the start there. And actually, her mouth is open, so we don't want to start right on that. We're going to start with. Maybe we'll start with her.
Welcome. Today. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about different kinds of cutting.
Okay, so we're going to.
Welcome. Today. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about different kinds of cutting tools that you'll need as you're sewing and doing your craft projects. Have an assortment of tools here today to talk about.
Okay, so she repeats herself there, so let's just cut from that point, right? So let's say
about different kinds of cutting tools that you'll need as you're sewing and doing your craft projects.
Okay, so she looks down. So let's cut right there, and then let's move this forward in the timeline, and let's go find instead now the wide shot of her, okay?
Welcome. So today what we're going to be talking about is different types of cutting tools that you'll typically want to have in your arsenal of notions for sewing. So for those.
Okay, so then here she's also looking down and she's starting to talk about the next piece that she has in there, right? So we're gonna delete that one and we're gonna go and we're gonna watch this.
Sewing and doing your craft projects. So the first one that we have today is these are fabric shears. These are high quality scissors. You don't want to use just your regular everyday scissors. These are cut very, very nicely. These are particularly brand is Ginger.
Okay, so we don't need to talk about that particular brand or anything like that. So let's back up and just find out where she kind of talks about it.
High quality scissors. You don't want to use just your regular everyday scissors. These are cut very, very nicely.
Okay, so she's talking about kinds of stuff, but I'm not sure, what she's going to. So I feel like she's kind of losing track right there. So let's pull that forward now. And then let's pull this guy back in, right? Okay, don't overwrite though. So, yeah, more space. Okay. Let me pull that in, right? So,
have an assortment of tools here today to talk about. These are probably my top picks of cutting tools that I like to use for all of my sewing, all of my craft projects. So the first one, probably the most important that you want to have, is a good pair of fabric scissors. These you will just exclusive. A good pair.
Okay, so she talks about her good pair of fabric scissors. So let's see if we can cut that idea into this idea.
So the first one that we have today is these.
Okay, so actually these, yeah, that might be perfect.
These are fabric shears. These are.
Yeah, fabric shear. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna cut.
Pair of fabric scissors. Pair of is a good pair of fabrics. What we have today is these are fabric shears.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to find a way to make these two ideas fit together, right? So we're cutting from...
So the first one that we have today is pair of...
Okay, so we're going to get rid of the here.
Okay,
so I'm just going to roll that back. And then this, she says too, but maybe this will work.
So the first one that we have today is pair of...
Okay, so we might be able to get those even to go together.
What we have today is pair of fabric scissors. These...
Okay, that was actually pretty stinking amazing.
Is pair of fabric scissors. These you will just exclusively use for your fabric cutting. You don't want to use any. You don't want to use these to cut any paper, any plastics. You just want to use these exclusively for your fabrics.
Okay, so she kind of repeats herself there too, right? So
these you will just exclusively use for your fabric cutting. You don't want to use any. You don't want to use these to cut any paper, any plastics. You just want to use these exclusively for your fabrics. Really, really important if you do use paper plastics.
Okay, so I remember that she was talking about how, okay, so if you do cut it, then it's going to, you'll need to sharpen it more. We can cut all that out.
And the next pair...
okay, so I'm just going to focus on this very first idea, right? So what we've done is we've taken two clips. Why won't you just let me delete it? Okay, whatever. All right. So we've taken two clips. We've cut them together so that now they are... flowing this one central idea.
Today we're going to be talking about different kinds of cutting tools that you'll need as you're sewing and doing your craft projects. So the first one that we have today is pair of fabric scissors. These you will...
Okay, and since she's looking down, we don't really care about that, right? So what we want to do is we want to go find her actually picking up these fabric scissors. Oh, this is the shot that I had early on. Okay, so we need to get the close-up of her with picking up those very first tools. Okay, so here we are. Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump forward, and we don't really need to worry about the audio because this is her picking up the scissors, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to just find where she starts from that. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump forward. We're going to have her talking about these scissors, all that stuff. She just, loves talking about the scissors. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab this clip. We're going to move it onto the second line, because we're going to use this to cover up something else. I'm going to unlink, and I'm going to delete the audio portion, and now we've just got this guy. Oops, redo that. Sorry. Delete that guy. And then I'm going to cut this guy, because we're going to move him to cover up this edit here. So what I've done is I've taken this other clip, and I've just stuck it on top of the clip that's below it. And what this enables me to do is I can move it around now, and the below stuff doesn't get messed up.
Doing your craft projects. So the first one that we have today is...
Okay, and I'm going to take from... So she's already picked that up there. So see how she's picking that up? So right about there is where we need to have her picking it up, right? So I'll just kind of slide it, and I can just trim it up.
What we have today is pair of fabric scissors. These you will just exclusively use for your fabric cutting.
Okay, and so then we can cut back to her here because she's probably...
you don't want to use any... you don't want to use these to cut any paper.
Okay, and so notice how she kind of starts an idea and then cuts it. So this is great.
Cutting. You don't want to use...
Okay, we don't need So what we're going to do is we're going to actually just slice right here. And we're going to start where she actually starts this idea, right?
You don't want to use these to cut any paper.
Okay, so she actually says you don't want to use these to cut any, and then she gets lost, and then she starts talking again. But look, when we pull this up...
So the first one that we have today is pair of fabric scissors. These you will just exclusively use for your fabric cutting. You don't want to use these to cut any paper, any plastics. You just want to use these exclusively for your fabrics.
So that is actually gorgeous. Like, that worked out incredibly well. If I wanted to, and if I wanted to make this go faster, because I like making people sound better, I would get rid of all of her especially within this section, because I could just cut out an from in here.
You will just exclusively use for your fabric cutter.
Okay, so there she says right? So we can actually just get rid of this.
Fabric,
and then when we pull it in,
exclusively use for your fabric cutting. You don't want to use.
So then we just pull that back, and now we cut again.
Your fabric cutting, you don't want to use these to cut any.
It is wonderful. So what I'm using is I'm using this other clip to cover up the audio portion where I'm slicing through and getting rid of ums and pieces that work, that don't work. And then here even, remember, I cut so that we got rid of kind of a bumble within her sentence. So it actually makes it sound a whole lot better. And so that's basically what you do. You take one shot, you cut to the other shot, you put in your overlay stuff where you need to, and then you just get rid of ums and things as possible, making it as clear as possible. It is awesome with how well and how much you can do, but it takes a long time. So if you're just getting started, focus on these big picture ideas, just going from one shot to the next shot, keeping the idea flowing, and getting rid of anything that's extraneous and doesn't make any sense. And then as you get more comfortable, cut out the ums and the pauses and just make it a lot smoother. If I had time, I would go here and I would cut out my ums within this, but this is a live edit kind of thing. And so now I'm going to cut over and kind of go through, show you what I've already been doing with Kat in the other edit. And I'm sorry, I am covering up the timeline a little bit, but that is going to show you a lot more of the cuts where I've gotten rid of ums and just made it go crazy with just a single shot. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. And my understanding is that typically if somebody asks you to make a 2 to 3 minute video, it's going to take you at least 8 hours to produce it. This video is a few minutes long, and I'm not doing much editing. I'm just cutting stuff together and putting it all together, and I've already spent several hours working on this particular project, and I would know what I'm doing. I'm really fast. So if it takes you a lot longer, that's okay. Start with the big picture ideas, get going with your editing project. Really the tools that you're going to need are your selection tool, you're going to need your blade tool to cut between things, and then you just go back and you select the piece that you don't want, and you delete it, and you scoot everything over, and you keep going. And that's just the process of editing. Cleaning up audio is a whole nother project. If your audio is not very good, there's stuff that you can do with that, but that'd be a different thing to start learning as you go along. Audacity is awesome. Look into noise removal in Audacity. It's fantastic. That's kind of what I got for you. I'm going to jump over now to the other piece, and you can see what we were doing over there.
If you do any plastics, if you do use them on paper or plastics, they will get that. Plastics, they will dull a lot more quickly, and you'll just have to get those sharpened more often.
Okay, so what we're going to do is I just want to kind of take this very first section here and just kind of show you what's going on with this, because we could keep doing this forever. I've been doing this a long time, and so the concepts of what do we need to cut, I've got an idea already. I could be wrong, and so we'll see how bad this turns out. But basically, just this very first tool. Let's just listen to it real quick, what we got.
Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about different kinds of cutting tools that you'll need as you're sewing and doing your craft projects. These are probably my top picks of cutting tools that I like to use for all of my sewing, all of my craft projects. The first one is a good pair of fabric scissors. These you will just exclusively use for your fabric cutting. You don't want to use these to cut any paper, any plastics. If you do use them on paper or plastics, they will dull a lot more quickly, and you'll just have to get those sharpened more often.
Okay, so that's actually pretty awesome. There's a little bit of audio where it kind of cuts in and out, but the first thing I want to do is I want to now go grab that last shot that I grabbed, this one of just kind of going over all the tools here. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab just the kind of the flow of this. So this I'm going to use while she's talking about, hey, these are all the different tools. These are my favorites, all that kind of stuff. This is just a great shot for that, just that opening bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, jump back to the beginning. Oh, there's a faster way to do this, but I'm not using it. Oh, Luke. Okay. So what we've done is we've come back here to the beginning. We can actually unlink the audio, but that's okay. Yeah. So.
Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about different kinds of cutting tools that you'll need as you're sewing and.
So we're going to actually do it right before the cut.
That you'll need as you're going to be talking about different kinds of cutting.
going to do it on the idea, right? We're going to cut on the idea.
Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about different kinds of cutting tools that you'll need as you're sewing and doing your craft projects. These are probably my top picks of cutting tools that I like to use for all of my sewing, all of my craft projects. The first one is a good...
Okay, so that's pretty good, but we don't need to go all the way.
I like to use for all of my sewing.
Okay, and she says all of her craft projects? Probably don't need that.
All of my craft projects.
But
all of my sewing, all of my craft all of my craft projects.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come back and we're going to pull this in a little bit too. And then when we cut now,
Cutting tools that I like to use for all of my sewing. The first one is a...
Okay, but then that cut too fast because we don't have that nice pause. So I'm going to actually take the pause after
projects.
We're going to go projects. Oh, where's my cut tool? I have it set up wrong. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to pull this in here and see what happens.
Cutting tools that I like to use for all of my sewing projects.
Actually, and projects didn't work. I thought it might, but we're going to just do that. We're just going to use the breath, right?
That I like to use for all of my sewing. The first one...
That way we just kind of make it a little bit smoother as we're going along.
All of my sewing. The first one is a...
And that's probably too much, but we're going to pull that back and that'll be great.
To use for all of my sewing. The first one is a good pair of fabric. The first one is a good pair of...
Okay, so now what we can do is we can switch over to our close-ups of all these tools that we have. Yeah, right here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting into the picture of this. So we're going to jump forward a little bit because she's going to be talking about the first one is this. Okay, so I'm not even going to care what the audio is right here, right? Because that's not important to what I'm doing. We're just going to take this shot right here. We're going to slice it up. We're going to go take it out of here. So
all of my sewing. The first one is a good pair of fabric scissors.
Oh my goodness, did you guys see that? That wasn't even intentional.
Fabric scissors.
It closed right. That editing things like that are just awesome. I just love it. You can hear it click.
Fabric scissors. These you will just exclusively use for your fabric cutting. You don't want to use these to cut any paper.
Okay, so now, ideally, in a perfect world, what we do is we'd go get some further B-roll of like using these scissors cutting fabric. Okay, so we get some shots to cover up this particular edit.
For fabric cutting, you don't want to use these to cut any paper, any plastics. If you do use them on paper or plastics, they will dull a lot more quickly, and you'll just have to get those sharpened more often.
So that's basically editing at this point in time. This is how I would put it together. Start with your start with a shot that you like the best. Just go through and cut it up. If you need to, then you can go into a different take, like the close-ups or like the wide shot here, and we can go find the moments to replace the pieces that we have, and then go from there. The audio is actually pretty good considering where we are. I'm not hearing a lot of noise, but we could go into an Audacity or whatever, reduce noise, all that. That's a totally separate project of cleaning up audio and all that. That's the gist. Kat, do you feel, having seen this craziness, that you've got an idea of what you need? What else do we need to cover that I can show what we need to do?
Yeah, I think cutting, yeah, I think I get the idea of it. I think for me personally, having never used software editing, like keeping up with what you're doing on there is a little, like there's a lot going on. So
Totally.
For having never used any kind of editing software, that would probably be my where I would need help with.
Absolutely, and using software for the first time is really overwhelming.
You just gotta play with it.
You've got to play with it. What I've done here is I've actually built all kinds of hotkeys to what I I'm used to cutting. So when I was cutting out stuff, so I was selecting pieces, I was going things, I was removing the ums, as you saw.
Yes.
I was deleting sections where I was like, we don't need that sentence, all that stuff. That was all just hotkeys. You can do it, point and click, cut, delete. It's just really slow.
Right.
Which is fine, especially when you're getting started. In fact, that will give you a sense of where do I need to cut, what do I need to do, how do I need to do it, which is actually going to be really helpful for you, but it's going to take you gobs of time. And notice, with my hotkeys, knowing what I'm doing, being very familiar with this program, I don't know how long we've been doing this, but just getting this first, like, it's not even the first 30 seconds, just to a point where we're okay with it, you know, where it's nice and smooth, took a long time. And I haven't even gone and gotten the shot of you cutting the fabric with that, you know, just going and grabbing these other shots to make it better. This is why most YouTubers and people like this just throw it up as is, which honestly, the whole length of the entire thing was about 3 or 4 minutes. So if we even cut it that way, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But I like things feeling like they're really, you know, solid, clean. You're not sitting there like, most people won't even notice, but when they see something that's really well cut, they'll feel a lot better about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the gist of what we're doing. We may work on some other stuff, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of this is what it takes to make a video and where we need to go from here. All right, cool. Thanks.